Howdy, 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 my name's Anashi Sasuke. Welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, we read the Ipetus Anomaly, the Hungry Train, the Devil's Deal, a Mirrored Booth, and the Hindenburg Photograph, and I decided I'm not going to do the serious Keter voice anymore because it hurts. In this episode, we're going to be doing Mysterious Russian Submarine, Retrovirus, a Chocolate Fountain, Assembly Required, and the Headlights. And I gotta say, of all of these, a Chocolate Fountain is the one that's raising the most flags for me, because that one just sounds a little bit too calm to actually be calm. So, let's check out that submarine. It's probably not yellow. It's Euclid though, and it sure don't look yellow. As the object has sunk to an extreme depth and is surrounded by a region of elevated pressure, it is largely isolated from external influence. Nevertheless, periodic monitoring by sonar and or a submersible should be conducted to ensure it has not been tampered with. By what? Russia has actively encouraged the use of Foundation contracted Russian warships SCP, SCPS, Basisty, and Krasnoyarsk for these purposes. In the event of activity within the exclusion zone surrounding 741, Procedure 353 Kashai is to be enacted. I feel like that means something. Acronym, is that the word I want? Acronym? Maybe. This procedure entails the use of nuclear and conventionally armed RPK-2 Vyuga anti-submarine/surface missiles aboard the Krasnoyarsk. Any movement of 741 is to be met immediately with nuclear strike. Alright. All other contacts are to be engaged with conventional warheads. Mysterious. SCP-741 is a sunken Soviet submarine. It sank near blankety-blank in March 1968. However, the Foundation did not take over custody of the vessel until blank-blank 1999. The submarine itself is a version of the Charlie II class, carrying 8 P-120 Malachit anti-ship missiles. Prior to sinking, the submarine had been deployed under unusual circumstances which garnered the attention of Western intelligence agencies. The US government attempted to recover the vessel in the early 1970s in an operation known as Project Blank. This was moderately successful, though precisely what it recovered was never disclosed. In the late 1990s, agents within the US government affiliated with Redacted contacted the Foundation with news of a potential Euclid or Keter-class object within the wreck. Following negotiations, the Foundation took custody of the wreck and it has had it under surveillance ever since. What could they have been affiliated with that's redacted that contacted the Foundation from within the US government? The vessel lies on the ocean floor in 3 pieces. Evidence suggests that the hull was broken apart during the Project Blank recovery attempt, and that it was largely intact at the time that it sank, save for a hole just forward of the sail and another further aft, just below the starboard missile tubes. Debris recovered from this hole indicates that the sub was struck by a P-120 Malachit anti-ship missile while surfaced. One of the boat's own P-120 missiles has been fired. The submarine appears to have sunk due to rapid flooding following the missile strike. No remains of the crew have been found, either within the vessel or in the vicinity, and all emergency escape equipment is untouched. Divers sent to investigate reported anomalous currents, abnormal sea life, moans, unexplained voices, and unintelligible whispering, and the presence of blurry, faintly glowing figures. So, ghosts. I'm gonna go with ghosts. Sea life in the area has been observed to be unusually aggressive. A diver was seriously injured by a large squid of unknown species, and on 2 occasions, observation submersibles have been aggressively approached by sharks and large squid. Squid. Like, is it just a large squid, or are they just not pluraling squids? I thought that the plural for squid was squids. It's not deer, or sheep, or moose. The wreck is surrounded by an anomalous pressure gradient extending approximately 250 meters, centered on a point 30 meters aft of the center of the submarine. Within the affected region, pressure is much greater than expected for the depth. It is believed to be the reason why Project Blank could not recover the entire submarine. It also has significantly hampered further salvage and investigation efforts. The extreme pressure differential makes analysis with sonar difficult, as very high amplitudes are required. Special protection is also required for divers to approach the wreck. What records the Foundation has been able to obtain from Russia and the United States about the submarine strongly suggest that it was being used to carry some secret cargo, the nature of which is still unknown. Code words used in the Russian documents imply that the secret cargo did not have anything to do with the typical nuclear or chemical weapons of the day. A mention is made of Project Redacted, a Soviet data expunged. Incident reports I-741C. On blank, SCPS Basisti reported a submerged contact approaching 741 from the south at 46 knots. Acoustic signature of the contact did not match any known submarine or torpedo. Contact did not respond to sonobuoy drops or active sonar pings. When the contact crossed into the 18-kilometer total underwater exclusion zone, contact was classified hostile. Sonar recorded sounds of an undersea missile launch, but Basisti broke away and fired a Type 53 torpedo towards the attacker. Missiles of unknown configuration were observed breaking the water 15 seconds later, flying at an altitude 1.8 meters at a velocity of 0.92 Mach. No radar emissions were detected from the missiles, and they did not respond to launch chaff or flares. Both missiles were engaged by Basisti's 3K-95 Kinzhal surface-to-air missiles and Kashtan point defense systems, and were destroyed at 1,800 meters and 210 meters from impact. Afterward, hostile could be heard engaging in evasive maneuvers, followed by 4 closely spaced explosions and the sound of a submarine disintegrating. The identity and intentions of the attacker have not yet been determined. In light of this incident, the acoustic sensor net should be expanded and additional patrol and defense assets acquired. Acquisitions of undersea retaliatory capability advised. Addendum B. There's not been an Addendum A. Further analysis of the sonar recordings taken by Basisti during incident I-741C have revealed anomalous acoustic signatures not consistent with any known form of propulsion, including magnetohydrodynamic drive. Anomalous transients reminiscent of redacted are also audible during the breakup of the unknown attacker. Document A. An interview conducted between Foundation researcher name withheld and an American intelligence agents working for redacted relevant portion transcribed below. Why did you decide to come forward? The US government sat on this information for 30 years. You've seen the reports. Project Redacted, for fuck's sake. We knew that part too. How the directors didn't make the connection is beyond me. That and the stuff the blank pulled up. Yeah. The other part you don't hear about is what some of the research team died of. That expunge doesn't naturally do that. And the crewmen we recovered. Just uniforms. Also, the nuclear device we recovered wasn't a missile or torpedo warhead. It was a demolition charge. Does that make any sense? After all those clues, I had to come forward. Why the Directorate didn't is something I can't fully explain. Wait, the sub was sent out unmanned. But if so... No, not unmanned. There were no bodies, but personal effects were everywhere, along with the uniforms. There was some blood, human before you ask, on one of the torpedoes and a bit of skin, where somebody probably crushed his hand loading the thing. Just no bodies left. When I first looked into all this, I had no clue what the hell had gone on down there, but I started putting things together. A Soviet weapons program? Some kind of biological agent after what you said about data expunged? No, it wasn't that. I thought maybe it could have been. So I dialed up some of my contacts at Biopreparat. Us spies ended up owing each other favors after a while, and they denied it. Vehemently. Not your usual cover-up horseshit either. They clearly stated that whatever the fuck Blank was carrying, it wasn't theirs, and they wanted no part of it. Sounded like he was going to puke when I mentioned redacted. And Doctor, do you have any idea what it takes to make a bioweapons researcher sick? I can guess. Now, that wasn't what really bugged me though. What really kept me awake at night was the KGB files that fell into our hands. They mentioned a covert op by the Soviet military against an internal unnamed faction to get rid of terrifying weapons that even the Soviet Union can't safely control. They wanted to lose it, whatever it was. Or maybe fob it off onto the US. Of course, that all came to light right before the Iron Curtain fell, and given the atmosphere at the time, it was practically impossible to convince the directors that they weren't talking about nukes, and even once I did, they still didn't think this was worthy of action. I mean, the Redacted will probably have me hanged for treason if they ever find me, but it was worth the risk. And by what I can gather, it sounds like Russia thinks so too, loaning you half the Pacific Fleet and all. See also Incident Report A, which is a whole separate page. Okay, let's check this out. The location is redacted, the date is blanked, the preamble. 2 previous dives at the site of 741 have reported numerous anomalous findings, including the artifact inside the reactor. A 3rd dive has been arranged to investigate the anomalies outside the submarine itself. Divers are based off the icebreaker Yamal. Ostensibly, they are investigating the possibility of lost torpedo or missile warheads from the K-141 Kursk. Even their cover mission is classified to minimize questioning. A 40-kilometer exclusion zone has been established around the site via security calls. No civil shipping is in the area. Audio logs. Logs begin blank at 9:37 in the morning. Yamal Control Live, the sub at site now. Acknowledge A27. A27, get a look at that! The hell? Very odd, I'm taking some photos. That's not the only weird thing either. Take a look at that hole. Did you see something move? Probably just a giant isopod. They're everywhere down here. Maybe a spider crab. You're right, I'm just twitchy. Your go for active ops. Say again, sonar and lights are up. Keep it cool, light them up. I'm lit. It's lit, fam. Moving toward the starboard side breach now. No evidence of a change since last survey. Wait. Something glowing inside the hole. Moving closer to investigate. Be careful, watch the radiation. At normal background levels here, still, that does look like Cherenkov radiation. Beta emitter? A hunk of thorium or something? A29, your neuron counter's beginning to register something. 40, 50 counts per second, not much, but it's neutrons. Unknown voice. Vasily? Yevgeny, can you hear me? The flying hell is that? A30, you seeing this? My god, is that a person? It's not possible. It's just not damned possible. Everybody check nitrogen levels. This must be nitrogen narcosis. All of us? Help me. It's getting hard to breathe. It's gone. This doesn't make any sense. What was that? Who else is out talking here? I can't explain it. We just saw, well, something here. Guess that's why they call it Euclid. Some things you just can't get used to. Addendum, previous dies have recorded unintelligible mumbling and strange lights, but this was the first time any intelligible speech has been recorded. Log resumes at 9:59. Guys, we got a visitor! Squid! Huh. Weird. Keep your distance. It's a blooded big one. Must be what, 5? Almost 6 meters? Yeah. Still never heard of one attacking somebody. Noted. Continue investigations. A29, check out that weird husk down there. A30, look at the shell. See if you can get me some closer photos. It's familiar somehow. I'm gonna swim up forward to check out the torpedo tubes. Roger. Yeah, Yamal Control. How big is that shell? From the photos you beamed us, our marine biologist thinks it's a redacted. If you can haul that shell up here, we'd like to have a look. Just be careful, data expunged. 30, 29, can you attach a haul cable to that shell? Can do. The divers work its out for about 5 minutes. Curious bastard, aren't you? Eh? That squid's over here. Ah! 26, what happened? I see blood. Yamal, reel him in! We have him, what's going on? 26 has been attacked. We're going to have to give him decompression time. Don't bother, that squid's giving chase. Good lord, it's attacking again, it's tearing him to pieces. Get him aboard now or he'll die. Roger, maximum wind speed now, prepping the hyperbaric chamber. Get yourselves out of there fast too. I see something else moving. Another squid? I don't think so. I don't know what the hell that was. Didn't get a good look at it. Lights all full aboard. Prepare to surface. Roger. Start your ascent. We'll take in slack. Do you have him? We've got him. He's alive but unconscious. They're prepping for emergency surgery now. Those bites are pretty bad. Addendum, Yamal successfully recovered all 4 divers along with the shell. Analysis of the shell shows remarkable similarity to extinct orthoconic nautiloids. The shell was devoid of tissue, but was not fossilized. The significance of this finding is still being investigated. Diver 26 remains in critical condition after the loss of limb and exposure to venom of unknown composition. A26 camera was destroyed, but most of the photos were transmitted to Yamal via the fiber optic Ethernet link. Photos of the ghostly phenomenon remain classified and have been sent to Redacted for further study, along with Geiger and neutron counter readings from the same time. Future dive missions have not been ruled out. Since squid are not known to attack humans normally, much less without provocation, it is considered probable that some other phenomenon is at work here. Future divers will be warned to treat all potentially dangerous sea life as an immediate hazard and take appropriate precautions. So, harpoon the fuckers. Got it. Next up is the retrovirus. And that certainly was a mysterious Russian submarine. No one really seems to know what the... Oh. Okay then. I'm just going to assume for the future that if it says virus in its name, it's probably going to be Keter. Looks like a jellyfish made of green fire. Instances of 742-1 are kept in separate solitary confinement cells in the maximum security wing of Site Blank and fed blank kilograms of freshly harvested human bone marrow, obtained redacted, in addition to standard humanoid-grade rations. Samples of the virus itself, are kept in a secure vault at Site 19. Personnel are to note that while infected individuals are extremely dangerous, 742 itself has exceedingly low infectivity except when injected directly into the bloodstream and is not considered a biohazard. So, why is it Keter if the virus itself is safe unless you inject it into somebody? Mobile Task Force Blankety Blank has been created to respond to uncontained outbreaks of 742 and are currently in the field in Blankety Blank. Description: SCP-742 is a retrovirus approximately blank times more complex than any known naturally occurring virus. It infects all cell types, but initially only enters the lytic cycle in helper T cells, leading to a state of immunocompromise that allows 742 to infect every one of the infected subject cells. The infected cells secrete hormones that increase appetite as well as a signal compound. Once full infection is achieved, concentration of this signal compound reaches a target level and infection reaches stage 2. Before I continue, I just want to say that this sounds like the T-Virus from Resident Evil. I don't really know what the T-Virus from Resident Evil did other than turn dudes into zombies, but it's kinda sounding like that's what's happening here. During Stage 2, 742 affects the nervous system, causing the infected subject to ravenously consume large quantities of protein-rich food and seek a dark, secluded area, often a cave, abandoned building, or crypt. At this point, the subject enters a state of hibernation, slowing the metabolism to the point of apparent death. Like bears, except not anything like bears whatsoever. During this period, the 742 retrovirus completely reverse transcribes itself into the infected subject's DNA and deactivates its viral properties. Following the event, the subject is designated 742-1. Newly created instances of 1 use the food energy ingested during the viral phase to alter their physiology, resulting in an organism superficially similar to a human being, but with a secondary alimentary tract-linked data expunge roof of the mouth, several new organs of indeterminate function, and a subtly altered nervous system. Once fully transformed, instances of 1 continue to function as if they were normal human beings, and are virtually indistinguishable without medical examination. However, 742 infection destabilizes the genome during reverse transcription, leading to symptoms consistent with telomerase dysfunction within approximately a month. 1 can prevent this by ingesting human stem cells. In the wild, 1 are nocturnal hunters preying on isolated humans. The victim is first paralyzed by a venomous bite, then drained of bone marrow via redacted. There's not really very many ways you can drain bone marrow. Occasionally, some of the victim's flesh will also be cannibalized for sustenance. Instances of 1 do not age normally and, if kept supplied with stem cells, are biologically immortal. Instances of 1 specifically target younger victims because of the higher volume of stem cells that can be obtained. Children who still have baby teeth will be found with their teeth missing in addition to data expunged. Instances of 1 will also target pregnant mothers in order to enter an infectious state. Normally, 1 uses pluripotent stem cells from bone marrow to regenerate itself and is incapable of spreading the 742 infection. However, after ingesting at least blank grams of totipotent stem cells, typically from a human fetus, although the source is irrelevant, 1 secretes a small amount of fluid filled with the 742 retrovirus from the blank glands. This fluid, injected data expunged major artery of a human victim, is the primary transmission vector for the 742 infection. Instances of 1 behave subserviently towards the instance that infected them. So, it's not that the virus comes from, like, a syringe, it's that it's not that they don't know where it comes from, but infects people, and then if they survive infection, and sounds like if they eat a baby or 2, then they have the ability to spread it with some sort of needle, which I'm assuming, this is a dumb assumption, but the way I'm assuming, for whatever reason, is like one of the arm bones in the top half of the arm that attaches the elbow to the wrist pops out and just sort of shanks them and infects them with it. Who knows how it actually happens, but that's what I'm imagining. So, that's strange. Moving on to a chocolate fountain. No, not the assembly required, a chocolate fountain. Which is also Keter. I called it. I said that the chocolate fountain sounded sinister because it was just, oh look, it's a chocolate fountain. It probably is a chocolate fountain, but it's set up for termination. It's a setup for termination of data expunge, so no one may enter its containment area except for scheduled disposable dudes. Any activity that must be performed within its containment area must be performed remotely via by a robot. 743 is to be kept in a level 4 carbide steel secure container, 1.5 by 7 meters by 75 centimeters by 75 centimeters, no less than 5 centimeters thick. The container will itself be kept in a level 4 secure room, 10 by 10 meters, with enhanced hard metal lining. A full array of redundant sensors within the container will remain trained on 743. Another array of sensors will watch the container for any signs of breach. Video, audio, and data feeds from all arrays will pass to a control room manned at all times by at least 2 personnel. Any abnormal or aggressive activity by 743 must immediately be reported to level 4 staff. Now, before I continue, thinking about why things are called Keter, I thought it was like things that are super destructive to human life that can't be stopped, or things that can't be contained. So like a teleporting baseball bat that's on fire would be Keter because they can't stop it from teleporting. But a flaming baseball bat that the flame never goes out, but it stays in a box if you put it in titanium would be Euclid because they don't know why it's on fire. Like how the ship at the bottom of the ocean is considered contained because it's at the bottom of the ocean, but they don't understand why it has ghosts and makes squids angry. But this is a chocolate fountain. Why is it Keter? They clearly have it contained, but I guess we'll find out when I keep reading. Housing for 24 disposable dudes, designated Housing Unit 743 or HU 743, must be set up adjacent to 743's containment area. At the first of each month, disposable dudes who are scheduled to be terminated must instead be moved into HU 743, enough to fill the housing to capacity. If at any time fewer than 8 disposable dudes are residing in HU 743, at least 16 disposable dudes are to be immediately transferred to it. In the case of containment breach, all disposable dudes housed in 743 are to be immediately exposed to it. Keter class recontainment protocols apply. Every 2 days, one disposable dude currently assigned is to be locked alive in the containment room with several plates of food, at which time the container will be remotely unlocked and opened. The disposable dude may eat as much desired of the available food, including the liquid from 743. Under no circumstances are they allowed to exit it. 743 may not be transported without O5 approval except under emergency protocols. When transported, it must be accompanied by no fewer than 8 level 4 security personnel and no fewer than 8 disposable dudes from HIA 743. As a blank 2000 something, it is kept in Containment Annex Delta at Armed Reliquary Containment Area 2. So let's find out what the hell this is, and why it's Keter. It's a stainless steel chocolate fountain, 44 inches tall and 18.5 inches wide with a mass of 77 pounds. On the base is a laser-etched logo for Sephra, a company that specializes in producing chocolate fountains. It usually appears to be in pristine condition, immaculately clean, well-polished, and completely undamaged. It can be disassembled into its component parts, but standard examination of the individual components do not reveal any unusual traits. When assembled, it exhibits several different behaviors. Resting, no apparent activity. Flowing, appears to operate like a standard chocolate fountain, i.e. a heated chocolate-flavored dark brown liquid flows from inside the crown, down over the tiers and into the base. This liquid smells and tastes like high-quality dark chocolate, and in fact its aroma is quite enticing, but does not appear to be compelling. Subjects who consume significant quantities of the liquid typically experience a feeling of warmth and euphoria. Chemical analysis shows the liquid contains many substances found in dark chocolate, though with higher concentrations of many nutrients, particularly sugars and amino acids. The flow of liquid is not affected by the presence or absence of fountain chocolate or anything else in its base. Feeding. At semi-regular intervals, when organic material is available nearby, a stream of small, brown, ant-like entities start pouring out from the crown of 743. These ants, which can number in the millions, swarm over an available animal, plant, and fungal material, cut small pieces off these materials with their pinchers, and carry them into its base. It seems to prefer consuming live humans, particularly those who have consumed the liquid, but will also consume live animals, dead humans and animals, plants, fungi, and even some processed animal and plant material, i.e. leather, cotton, clothing, and paper. These ants have been known to travel more than blank kilometers round trip, bringing a carcass piece by piece back to 743. Hunting. If sufficient organic material is not readily available to 743, different types of arthropod species start to emerge from its crown. Many of these entities resemble known arthropods, particularly insects and arachnids, but a large number resemble no known species of arthropod or animal. These arthropods, which are always the same color as the liquid, are usually specialized for a particular task. Types of arthropods that have been observed include small winged insectoids used for scouting, observation, and reconnaissance, insectoids that can bore through most materials, including steel and titanium, although individuals can each only bore out small amounts of the hardest substances before expiring. A seemingly endless stream of them will eventually bore through. Larger, more aggressive insectoids and arachnoids used to hunt down prey in a similar manner to instances of 2031. Again, individually they are nothing more than a nuisance, but SCP-743 has been known to produce swarms of aggressive arthropods numbering in the billions, more than enough to data expunged. Maintaining. 743 has been known to use arthropods to clean and polish itself, repair dents, scratches, holes, and nicks, and even put itself together when disassembled. 743 doesn't need to be turned on to start flowing, but it can change the positions of its controls itself. Although the arthropods that emerge from 743 are significantly stronger than their normal counterparts, they are not significantly tougher. Stomping an individual arthropod with a heavy boot will usually be sufficient to kill it, at which time it will fall apart into a drop or puddle of 743's liquid and quickly evaporate, its enticing aroma lingering. However, arthropods from 743 are almost never encountered alone. It is not yet known how the arthropods communicate with each other, or even if they are individual consciousnesses or part of a collective mind. It's also not yet known who or what controls the arthropods, if anything, where the organic matter taken into 743's base goes, how it can produce a seemingly endless supply of liquid in arthropods, or where all that liquid comes from. 743 does not appear to be invulnerable, however, it is both highly resistant to damage and will employ its arthropod army as an active defense system. It is theorized that 743 can be destroyed using data expunged, however, due to the apparent extra-dimensional characteristics of it, coupled with its inherent resistance to damage, no termination testing can be performed on it without O5 authorization. Note, due to the nature of 743, it is difficult to study the source of its abilities. No one can get close to it without risking being eaten. Our instruments don't last longer than a few minutes before being shredded by its bugs, probes sent into it can't see anything but brown, and the liquid evaporates so quickly most of what we know of it comes from analysis of its gaseous phase. What we do know is that 743 is dangerous. We have yet to see any limit to the amount of stuff it can pour out. I firmly believe that it could breach containment if it seriously tried. That said, it seems to behave itself as long as it gets a steady stream of live people to eat. Thus, I propose that some disposable dudes that will be terminated anyway be fed to it. Kill two birds with one stone. Dr. Lambert. Proposal, death by chocolate, approved by 05 blank 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 2000 something. So, it sounds like the reason that it's Keter is because it clearly has the ability to break containment whenever it wants. It just won't as long as they feed it people. So, that's why it's Keter. Not because of what it does, but because of what it can do. Interesting. Now let's check out assembly required. I was about to say, if it was Keter again, I was going to just start laughing. Due to 744's immobility, Containment Facility 744A has been built around it. A 2-kilometer perimeter surrounding the area is blocked off with a concrete wall topped with concertina wire, and is monitored by security cameras. Guard posts located on the perimeter are to be manned by security personnel armed with standard field gear. Any items produced by 744 are to be retained until they can be used. Description: SCP-744 is a large abandoned factory covering approximately 30 acres. Located in blank, West Virginia. Country roads. 744 is only semi-operational, with most of the manufacturing equipment having either degraded to the point where it no longer functions, or having been deliberately damaged by an unknown party at some point prior to 744's containment. The portions of 744 that are functional contain many types of manufacturing equipment that would normally not be associated with each other, including large industrial looms, automobile manufacturing equipment, and large pistons that do not seem to serve any purpose whatsoever. Current research at Containment Facility 744A is dedicated to studying possible connections between these machines. Its anomalous properties manifest once every 56 hours. During this time period, 744 will activate its manufacturing equipment. While it's active, it will actively use its, actively of course, use its manufacturing equipment to produce items. For a partial list of these items, see the log of items produced by it. There it is. All items manufactured by 744 are moved via a conveyor belt into a large antechamber which appears to have been designed to assemble them into one machine. This chamber is no longer functional. It is unknown where 744 obtains the materials it uses to manufacture these items. One is a voice calling itself blank blank, claims to be a production manager for 744 and that is in an undisclosed location within 744. One will attempt to communicate with any person who enters through the use of speakers which are located throughout. These communications usually consist of one attempting to convince the person that 744 is a highly advanced manufacturing facility in need of minor repairs, and to convince that person that they should assist in restoring it so that it can resume working towards its purpose. Attempts to receive further explanation of this purpose from one have failed. The entity is either unwilling or unable to provide further details on this subject. It was discovered on blank 1954 when reports of a haunted factory reached agents embedded in the local military base. Agents dispatched to investigate 744 were able to establish communications with one and confirm its anomalous nature. Containment procedures were enacted on blank 1955 with the construction of Containment Facility A. Persons known to have reported the haunted factory story were issued Class C amnestics. Containment was successfully completed by agents of MTF, whatever that is, Home Improvement. They have their own hub. As of 1961, it has been classified as Euclid. Now then. I don't know what these mean. Galvanized nails at a rate of 100 every hour. Large steel beach umbrellas. Blocks of steel. Iron bolts. Badly damaged produced a constant stream of scrap metal. Steel washers. And explosive anti-tank artillery shells. Our social note that they are highly unstable due to defects. A log of communications with 1 interviews granted by 744 have been very brief due to its uncooperative nature. Okay. Interviewed. This interview was taken shortly after its initial containment. Can you please identify yourself? I'm blank, the production manager. I'm having a hell of a time. I can't find one of my so-called workers to help me finish this thing. Finish what? None of your damn business. What you should know is that it must be done, and we have to get done soon to meet the production schedule. I see. So you're going to get to work or what? Beg your pardon? These machines ain't going to fix themselves, son. You have to get to work. Same doctor. Interview takes several months later on. Hello, how are you today? Fine, fine. When are you bastards going to get to work? It's been months and you barely made a dent in this place. Your facility is very degraded and you've refused to give us any assistance in discerning the machine's composition. Perhaps if you told us more... Don't talk nonsense! I told you everything you need to know. Any more information would compromise the nature of the purpose. And that's another thing. You have yet to tell us what this purpose is. Can you elaborate? You know I can't tell you that, Doctor. Just fix the place already. Interview was taken 2 years after interview B. Begin log optional time info. Look, we've told you we told you again and again. We don't know when the facility will be operational again. We have people working day and night. Bullshit you do. I see your people working. They don't do shit. You and your people have been lying to me, Doctor. I don't appreciate being lied to. Nobody is lying to you. We want to have this facility operational as much as you do. Don't think of me as a simpleton. I see how you react to the purpose. You don't know what it is and it scares you. Now if you could just tell us what the purpose is, maybe... No, let me tell you something, mister. All you scientists think you get what you get what makes the world turn, and if you see something that you don't get, you try to lock it away. The world deserves to see the purpose, Doctor, and you are impeding it. I would think you of all people will understand the futility of standing in the way of progress. Why can't you just tell us? That defeats the real awful truth of it all. You'll just have to help me so we can see it. See now, this feels like it's related to the factory. Nowhere in here does it say it's related to the factory, but it feels like it's related to the factory. It just, I can feel it. But for now, let's look into the headlights like deer. Oh God. This is May 16th, 1985. Maintaining velocity and recovery operations is the most effective way to force the pairs to split. Are they just headlights? It's Euclid. 745's point of origin has been traced to an abandoned stretch of highway blank in northern New Mexico. The Foundation has purchased the surrounding land and the highway has been redirected. On-site security are disguised as highway patrol agents and are tasked with removing trespassers and capturing any new hunting pairs of 745. Any 745 creatures that are captured live or dead are to be loaded into Class 3 BCU storage containers to await transport to Site 17. Containment procedures to preserve living specimens are still being researched and no captured specimen has survived more than a week in captivity, but as there have been no new sightings of 745 outside of its point of origin, the species is presumed to be effectively contained. Requests for access to 745 cadavers are to be forwarded to Dr. Langford directly. SCP-745 is a bipedal nocturnal predator. The head is a bloated sack of clear skin that wraps visible sensory organs or a skull, or lacks visible sensory organs or a skull. The brain of the creature can be directly observed and is wrapped in a web of bioluminescent organs below the skin. Skin covering the rest of the body has a deep black coloration. Living specimens of 745 are capable of producing a steady output of 1400 to 3200 lumens from their head. At night, this effectively obscures the rest of the body and gives the appearance of a floating point of light, While defending itself or communicating with other members of its species, this light has been observed to change color and flash in specific patterns. The genetic structure is not carbon-based. 745 almost exclusively hunts in pairs along remote sections of highway. Specimens are capable of moving at speeds up to 180 km per hour in perfect unison, taking the appearance of the headlights of a fast-moving vehicle. 745 targets lone vehicles on the highway, and hunting pairs will attempt to run their driver off the road by pursuing or charging their target. Once their prey swerves off the road or comes to a stop, the pair will separate to directly assault and consume the vehicle's occupants. 745 has not yet been directly observed while feeding, as captured specimens will not eat, and successful attacks have yet to leave any witnesses behind. 745 rarely leaves any remains behind apart from scraps of clothing and shoes. Vehicles recovered from 745 attacks rarely show any sign of forced entry and are covered with the childlike handprints from 745's front paws. Addendum: no lairs, nests, or young of 745 have ever been found. 745 had established a wide territory across the southwestern United States until Foundation teams began thinning their numbers in the 1960s, after which all recent 745 sightings have been on the secured patch of land in New Mexico. Reports of phantom lights in other parts of the country have been investigated with no signs pointing to 745 involvement. So that wasn't as weird as it could have been. It was certainly strange, but it definitely could have been weirder, like the retrovirus or the chocolate fountain. In any case, that does it for this episode of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the next one, we're going to be checking out the pseudo-avian, children and dolls, industrial dissolution, raindrops, and a different outlook on life. A few of those definitely sound like they have the potential to be Keters, specifically raindrops. But it could also be safe, because who knows with these people. In any case, this has been Anashi Sasuke. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, a like and subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you need to do either one of those things. And I will see y'all in the next one. Later.